Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Roseanne Hanson, and today you are joining me in the first of, I think it will be 10 sessions over the year around the world in 80 trees and tree-like plants. And it's going to be super fun. I'm having a ton of fun preparing these. And the way we're going to work these, and I'm going to get started because I have bitten off a big chunk of work. So what we're going to do is emphasize quick capture. We're going to do 8 species today. I'm going to take you around. We're in North America. We're going to start at the top and we're going to work down. And as we go, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do like really quick captures of various parts of the plants or maybe a full representation. And one of the things I thought of, well, 2 things. I asked, like, if it's part of your design for your pages, you might want to create like a little North America icon or something, either one, or maybe you reproduce it. I don't know, it's totally up to you. I'll probably do one in my notebook page. But I decided mostly to keep myself in check and not try to draw big things and like get completely out of whack. I'm going to do mine on an accordion. And you might want to try this, later, where 1 per section. So I have 4 sections on each side on this 140-pound paper. And that'll keep me kind of contained. And so I'm not kind of like blowing out all over the place. But if you have if you do an 8.5 by 11 notebook, you could probably do a lot better. Mine is 9 by 6, and I kept thinking, oh, would I do 1 species per page or 2? I wasn't sure. So I'm going to try this. We'll see. All right. Well, I'm going to get right started with my little presentation. Let's see. I am doing desktop. So if you can let me know, okay, you should be seeing
We've got the planet Earth.
Yay. Okay, good. Thank you, Valerie. Just want to make sure I've got this set up right. Okay, welcome to Around the World in 80 Trees and Tree-like Plants. Let's get going because we've got a long way to go. As I said, I am Roseanne Hanson. I am the Art and Science Program Director at the University of Arizona's Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill, and my own Exploring Overland Field Arts Institute. And I'm the author of Nature Journaling for a Wildlife, a beginner's guide to like an 8-week course in nature journaling, and then sort of your master's degree, a new book, Master of Field Arts, which is the next step in becoming a lifelong naturalist. And what we're doing today is part of that. We are learning about learning about the world by following trees around the world. It's going to be fun. So let's get started because I got a lot to do. Where are we starting? We are starting at the far northern part of the planet. And this is what we're starting with. Any guesses as to what species this is? And maybe to give you a little hint, here's the scale. That's about 2 centimeters or ½ an inch. If you guessed dwarf willow, you would be correct. And this is a really, really special plant. I really, really like this plant a lot. Very, very widespread in the Arctic with circumpolar distribution, as well as in parts of Europe. It's deciduous. Its leaves are deciduous. And the whole little tree, which, it is a tree, even though it is in the Arctic, so it does not get a lot of growing time. It grows very, very slowly. They only get to be about 2.5 inches tall, and they grow in little forests, which is so cute. The inflorescences are catkins. It's dioecious, which means it has male and female flowers on different plants. And the fruits have long hairy bits, so it's wind distributed. And I'm going to switch over now to my sketching here. This should show you, I'm going to reduce my myself there. This should show you my sketch point here. Let's get that to focus. Come on, focus. Okay, great. And I'm going to do an edit here. I grabbed the wrong capture. That is actually not a dwarf willow leaf. So pink. That was another plant, Betula nana, that I was going to do, and then I decided to do the dwarf willow instead because it's really classified as really one of the world's smallest trees. So how would I capture this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in pencil, and then I'll go to fill in some pen. And I'm doing pencils just because I want to give myself a chance to make some quick sketches and errors and get my proportions right, just in case. Usually I start right with pen, but in this case, I've got a lot to do. I'm talking and sketching at the same time. So let's just go. You can practically do this guy just almost 100%, like life size. So I'm going to get some shapes in here. The leaves are cupped. We were just up in the Arctic and spent a lot of time with these lovely little plants. And let's see, this one is almost looks like from this side. Sometimes they're almost heart-shaped there as it's coming out. And there's another one here that's, we've got a side aspect on. And then what I'm going to do for most of these sketches is indicate scale. So this is about 2 centimeters or half an inch. And the leaves, and now this leaf is going to be bigger than life-sized. This is almost as big as the whole plant. So sometimes it has a little dip in the top, not always, but again, it's very cup-shaped. Now, this photo is showing something interesting. The edges here are showing what's called browning, and it's a new phenomenon in the Arctic because the warming is causing the native plants to stress out a bit more, and they demonstrate, well, they show that by browning rather than, say, this will be turning bright yellow in the fall, but this is showing more of the dark tannins instead. So this is about 2 times 2. And let's be sure to say who this is. I'm going to switch to my ink. Be brave. So this is number 1. And so what I'll do is I'll probably affix this accordion in my notebook, and I'll put my North America map pretty big in that, and then I'll put my index numbers, like number 1, where this one is. So this is dwarf willow. Try to make my handwriting nice. And that is Salix herbacea. So I hope you're sketching along, and I'm doing this really quickly. I'm going to even try to start some color here too. Let's get this nubbly bits. It's kind of a hot doggy thing going here. So it's we'll get some depth in there with our color maybe.
Roseanne, do you mind describing the colors?
Oh, when I do them, like which colors I'm using?
Well, yeah, like what colors they are. It's a little, it looks like it's like a green and a red, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, let me see if I can make that a little bigger. How's that?
Good.
Yeah, it's a mossy green, and it's getting kind of a browny red on the edges, and that's the browning, the browning that it's they're calling it. And see those light veins? I'm going to go in here real quick with a piece of wax paper, and I'm going to mark. I'm going to wax in these veins. Hopefully it'll take, because that way I don't have to try to reserve them or put them in later. See how that works. Let's just get some quick color. I have like 2 minutes. Hey, and if someone has a question, please just speak up, because I don't have time to go to the chat. So happy to answer questions as we go. And
Roseanne,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you.
no.
This plant is found on like the northern edge of Alaska.
Yes, it is. It is an Arctic species, so it is in the tundra and high alpine tundra zones, and it's circumpolar, so not just North America, but around the world. And so we might want to put in here, you know, some notes. It's circumpolar distribution. It's deciduous. Oof, that one came out deciduous. Let's see, we had our list here. You know, it's dioecious would be good to put on our notes. I'm probably getting into the weeds too much here, so to speak. And spelling dioecious, that one always gets me. So let's just throw some quick color in here, because I'll have to finish the color later. So I am using a triad, which I use just a pure like cyan, magenta, and yellow. I use manganese blue, quinacridone rose, and aureolin yellow. And here's a dirty yellow that I'm mixing to get this. And this is a indanthrone blue and burnt sienna. So I'm getting this warm blue to kind of dirty up that yellow, because it's kind of a greeny yellow. Let's go with that. Oh, I forgot to do didn't I forget to do the veins over here so you can see? Because I'm going to have to move on soon. Let's see how that works. I didn't quite do it. Sometimes it doesn't take, this paper is highly textured, so it's not wanting to take that. I'm doing a light, all of it, just one color here just for now, and then I'll come back later and add the reds and the browns and shadows and depths, because these are going to have red. Oops, that bled a little bit. These are, I'm making blorks on my paper. Okay, well, let's move on to the next species. We are going to be moving fast today. So that was our first one. Now let's go to our next stop, which is going to be, now we're heading down into what is called the boreal forests. Very important ecosystem for the planet. It is as important, maybe more important now than the rainforests for carbon sequestering and just the importance to the planet in terms of many, many things. So what species is this? If you, and that bear's digging it too, that's Grizzly's got his little butt going. If you guessed it's a poplar, you would be correct. This is the balsam poplar, Populus balsamiferus. And it is an important northern hardwoods, the northernmost hardwood in the boreal forests globally. So that is the taiga in other places of the world. In Canada, I believe they do call it the boreal forest, but taiga is used more commonly in Europe. And it's a tall tree, up to 70 feet tall, and it really anchors the boreal ecosystem. It creates an amazing amount of aerosols and hormones, which really come to the forefront of its existence in the spring when the buds are developing and it starts releasing these aerosols that is a very, very strong smelling resin in its substance. And the buds are collected widely. It is a very revered plant by indigenous people and for vast amounts of medicine. Can't go into them all, but one of them is made from the buds, which are shown there, and they are made into a medicinal balm, and it's nicknamed the balm of Gilead from the Bible, but of course it wasn't a poplar in the Bible, it was a comifera species, which is a desert species, of course, since it was from the Levant. So balsam poplar, really, really amazing plant. So how are we going to sketch this guy? Well, I think what I'll do is first, let's get my number 2. Going straight ink on the name here. I hope I don't mess up. And that is, oh, let's get that. Balsam, Populus balsamiferus. Remember, poplars are, the cottonwood is a poplar. Barely fit that guy in. Okay. I think what I want to represent the shape here. So I'm going to make this a little smaller so we can still see. And it's, I want to make sure I get my proportions right. So I'm going to, here's the top of the tree. Here's the base. I'm going to start out kind of small on the trunk. I can always make the trunk bigger, but it's harder to fix it if I make it too fat. And then the shape, I'm going to get in, I'm just dot, 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 the shape here too, so I can get my shape of the tree. And one of the ways we can do this is just to like really lightly see how I'm just very lightly and quickly. Remember, we're having to go fast here. We've got a lot of species to go. And then I'm going to add color.
You know, it's actually really hard to see your drawing.
Yeah, let me see if I can increase the, nope, wrong way.
Or maybe just being brave and doing it in pen. So
Yeah, I'm going to go right to pen. I just wanted to make sure I got my, you know, and everybody's screens are a little different. So, but again, you know, we're going really quickly here. We're just wanting to capture the essence of this tree. I got the shape, and I'm not going to be doing this really dark in ink because most of what I'm going to be doing is flicking in some color with like dots of color. I just want to capture the essence of this tree. I want to make sure I reserve that white trunk too. And the trunk shows through just a bit, so maybe I'm doing that and get that essence there of that shape of these trees. And then maybe what I'll do is they have beautiful leaves. They're heart shaped. I'm going to go straight to pen. Guys, they're really testing me here. Beautiful veins. Lighter color. This is a really new leaf, isn't it? It's beautiful. And there's a nice shape of the leaf. And then let's do a quick capture of one of those buds. Okay, it's kind of this cigar shaped. I'm gonna sketch that in. There's and then there's sections like so. And then a little kind of case at the bottom. And this is about, I think it's about 2 centimeters. So let's see what we can do with some quick color here. Maybe hopefully this this will work a little better. I think I need to be a bit more aggressive and just so I try to reserve that white. And then let's get I could use I could dig out my wax crayon, but it's really hard to get a really skinny line with that. Or I could use paint on Cricut, it's called, but I don't really have time for that. So let's mix some bright green. So I'm going to go with pure yellow here and my beautiful manganese blue. Let's try to get this beautiful bright green. See, that worked better. I'm coloring outside the lines. This is a very textured paper. I'm not quite used to this much texture. See if I can just scrape out some of this color here. It kind of filled in a little bit. That's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I need a pretty thick paint. A lot of water. So I'm adding a lot more because I need to dab in. I tried it. See if I can do this. I just want to get the shape. See if I can't do that. Got like 5 more minutes, so that's a pretty decent poplar E shape. I'm not going to overdo that. We've got some nice spring grass down here.
Roseanne, I have a question.
Sure.
Are you, I'm coming from an art background, so I'm like trying to start to get the shadows and all that. But I guess when you're doing this, because you're coming from a naturalist point of view. So you're more generalizing. Is that correct? To do like the general.
Yeah,
generic
this is so
piece?
this is so tiny that and right now, remember, I'm just at the beginning phase. So for shadows and things, I can come back in later and maybe add a little detail to the trunk and give it more shape.
Right,
This
right,
is really tiny, so I don't want to overdo it.
right. Just in general is your approach,
Yeah.
more to the generic idea of the plant rather than
Well,
something that will plant.
if you're doing your own, you can take as much time as you want. I'm trying to do 8 species in like 15 minutes each. So I'm necessarily going a lot faster than I would normally do in the field.
Right.
If I were out doing this, I would be spending a lot more time. But this is fun, you know, I'm just doing something fun and different, and I'll be able to go in later and make things a little more detailed. So right now I'm just going quickly. So I've just laid down some lighter reddish brown, and later I'm going to come back and deepen those browns after this dries. And later, when I have time, I'll come back and add the red highlights in here and give this plenty of depth and shadows and things, fill in the shadows there. Oops, see, I'm making splashes on my pages. So
Roseanne, could you explain the red? Is that the bud? Is that the bud on there?
correct, yeah, that is this here. Oops.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Those are the
Thank you.
buds. Those are the buds that get turned into a balm that is generically called balm of Gilead. And so I'll go in here. I think it's still pretty damp, but you know, I'll be adding.
Are there several buds per leaf, or how does
Uh,
where the buds show?
These develop. Let's see, I think there they are. You can see them starting to develop here after they will be turning into the inflorescences. So these are the flower buds. So I'm putting this on too early. It's going to bleed. So I'm going to wait so I can get a crisper edge on that. It's a little not enough detail right now, but I want to come in later and put more of the browns and things in here and give it some shadows. But we should be shortly moving to our next species. If I had plenty of time, you know, I could sit and I could do a lot more detail drawing in here, but we just want to get the essence of the tree. Oh, and we want to add, these are about maybe about 70 feet tall. So we'll put 70 feet. I'm mixing and matching imperial and metric, I apologize. So we want to put that in. And the leaves are, I'm trying to remember, they're fairly large leaves. So they are, I want to say 3 to 4 inches. So this one's probably about a 3-inch diameter leaf. Okay, but I think we need to move on to our next species. So we're leaving the taiga, the boreal forest. Oh, and let me just say real quick, a fantastic read, a great book, right? Just came out called The Tree Line. Wonderful book. I'll put that on the resources page when I create the page for the recording with the downloads and all the things there. So I'll have that there, but it's called Tree Line. Just forgot the author's name. All right, now we're heading to the southwestern US. And I bet lots of people know this one, unless you're maybe in Europe or other parts of the world.
Oh, I love this one.
Pardon me?
I love this guy. This
I
is
know,
something.
this is a good
Oh.
one. So this is the Joshua tree, Yucca brevifolia. And they're amazing. They're just like little humans standing out in the desert, but they can be quite tall. So 20 to 70 feet tall, 6 to 21 meters. They are native to the southwestern US and northwestern Mexico. And they're a monocot. So they have one embryonic leaf as opposed to a dicot, which has 2 embryonic leaves. So similar to grasses. I like the naming story. So it's named after the story in the Bible of Joshua, who kept his hands reaching out for an extended period to assist the Israelites in their conquest of Canaan. So I believe the lore is that it was the Mormons coming west who named this plant, although there's some other thoughts there that that's just one of the naming ideas. So it is pollinated by a really cool moth called the yucca moth, and which spreads the pollen while it goes into the flowers and lays its eggs. But Joshua trees are diminishing rapidly because of increase in fire in their habitat due to climate change. And then some people think lack of the ancient dispersal mechanisms, which were ground sloths, giant ground sloths, ate and dispersed the seeds. So they think recruitment is just not high enough anymore. Here's a photo of the yucca moth. He's about half an inch to an inch long. And those are the beautiful flowers that come up from the top of the leaf clusters and create these banana-like drooping flowers. The flowers are a couple of inches, 3 inches long sometimes. Beautiful, beautiful. So I think what I want to do is draw, obviously I want to draw my Joshua tree. They're more challenging to draw than you think. The proportions are important. Like my poplar, I probably didn't get enough of the upward pointing branches. So we gotta watch our proportions on the Joshua tree. And then I want to draw that cute little yucca moth. So I'm just going to start indexing with pencil because, like I said, they're pretty challenging in terms of the proportions. So here's well, I'm going to have to go over. Remember to give room for the branches. So, and then at my highest point, oh, I forgot. Let's name this guy. So Yucca brevifolia. Okay. So start your sketches of our tree. So here's the high point. I might even have to go up into my little there, and I'm going to let me get my trunk proportions right. I'm not gonna try to get like every single arm here. I want the essence of Joshua tree here. And each part of the branches, upper branches of the Joshua trees and down into the much of the trunk often are kind of, I call it hairy, but it's leaf-like structures that point down, so it gives it a fuzzy appearance all the way through. Let's see. I just want to get my branches are too big, maybe. Make them a little smaller as I go up. And I'm just marking out kind of where the shapes of those bulbous leaf Like I said, I'm not trying to make this like complete exact here. This is the essence of Joshua Tree. This one's super complicated. A bump there. I'll come back and add my, I think I can go pen now. I'll come back and add the spikes. I'm keeping this fuzzy, as it were, because it's spiky, but remember this is really tiny. And the way these spikes go, it's almost a ball. Emanating out from the central. So this one has some of a kind of a dead droopy one here. Keep those broken lines because these are, like I said, this is very hairy looking, kind of. Don't try to draw every leaf or it will look a little weird. This one even has an old flower cluster out here. I'm probably painting the, or excuse me, sketching this in a little bit darker than I normally would because I want you guys to be able to see it, but this is in a pretty sandy, sparse location. Just a little few forbs down there. If you had time, you might want to put in a few rocks and things. But I really want to try to get this darling little yucca moth. And it would be just on part of the flower. These flowers look like this. They are, there's like a, I think, big fat banana-y thing with, they're really thick. And there are multiple parts to them, or petals, I guess. Sorry. So the little moth, we would, maybe if he were on here, he would be, these are maybe 3 or 4 inches long. So maybe if they were, he was getting ready, or she was getting ready to go in, maybe she would be sitting right on the outer part here, and she's very fuzzy. It's got like this spiky hair thing going on.
You know what would help me is some scale.
Yep, it would, wouldn't it? So I'm going to put this here and then I'll probably smear it because I'm still drawing. But we've got this is about 3 inches. Here I go again, mixing. So that's about 3 inches. This is about an inch long little moth with a little leg here. I don't have a lot of room for detail. Little leg going out there. And maybe to show maybe a little shadow on here. But this is a really pretty little moth here. And so painting this would be interesting. This is a very pale, creamy yellow. And it's got a little green in it too. Up close parts of it can look really, really white. So one of the things you could do is maybe fill in the outer part with some, say, sky blue or something to really enhance. And these are really thick, so we'd want to try to show that there. But I'm going to be running out of time. Again, this is really to get us started and have a lot of fun with our species. And I'll go in and I'll finish everything and then put that on the finished web page. But I can go in here. Yucca leaves are bluey green. They're not bright, super bright green, but you can go in and to give that sense of the color. And then the stalks are very brown. So let's turn this into a brown by mixing our 3 primaries here. That's maybe a little more yellow. Yeah. A little dark. I'm not going to fill that in all the way. That's a little dark. Add some lighter on top. I'm going to come back after that dries and put more yellow in there. I don't like how dark that is. But we've got the essence of Joshua Tree. And that's a really cool plant. And we'll color this in kind of a pale lemony, greeny lemon yellow and leave him nice and white. Or her, sorry, I keep saying him. That's a female. Oh, and she needs her antenna. There. Cute. Okay. But we have to move on because we need to get to the next species, which people are probably already guessing. Aha. One of the most magnificent trees, probably the most magnificent tree on the planet. This is our coast redwood, Sequoia sempervirens. And these exist in a narrow band on California's north coast. And it's the sole species of the genus, living species of the genus Sequoia, which is in the cypress Cupressaceae family. And they may live 1,200 to 2,200 years or more. And it is the tallest living tree on Earth. reaching up to the tallest one is this guy here shown in the picture, Hyperion in Redwood National Park, 379 feet tall. And I'm going to show you some scale in a minute to show you just how big that is. And they can be vast, like 29, 30 feet in diameter, absolutely huge. Only 23% of the existing ones are protected today in protected lands. The rest are outside of there and are listed. It is an endangered plant. Interestingly, this plant gets 25 to 40% of its water from fog, sea fog. And the leaves are shaped, they're fat, wide, and slightly cupped, so they capture moisture. But unfortunately, as many things, climate change is affecting this species survival. It is reducing the fog and therefore the amount of moisture that this plant can process. This gives you some idea of just how big the sky is. So Hyperion is thought to be 600 to 800 years old. That's it on the far right. Here it is in comparison. There's Big Ben. Here's the space shuttle. Here's a giraffe. It's just phenomenally huge. And here's what the leaves look like. So to capture this, I would want to do I want to capture that essence of the shape of this plant. Oops, again, I want to put where we are. This is coast.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So I see this guy sticking up there by himself among
Yeah.
everybody else. Is that the normal thing they do, or are they usually in a big forest together?
No, I believe they would have been a forest. These are survivors, remnants. It's very sad. I will look that up though. If anyone knows, please pipe in. I know there's some folks from that region on the call.
The sequoias in, I don't know, I guess they're different species. It's the sequoias in more inland, in Big Trees National Park, Calaveras.
Yeah.
The
The other redwoods, yes, it's a different species.
Okay, they're called sequoias though, also.
Well, I have to look.
They are
Yeah.
called sequoias. Yes.
Yeah, they're all called sequoia.
Gigan something.
Yeah,
Right, and
thank you.
they're the most massive. They don't grow as tall as coast
They're not the
redwoods.
tallest, but they're the
They're
most
massive.
their
Yeah.
girth and yes, that's a pretty
Right.
spectacular.
And they are in forests.
Pardon
They
me.
do grow in forests.
Yes,
Yes,
I think
both species grow in forests.
yes, they normally would have, but we're seeing just remnants now, right?
Well, in Northern California and in the Santa Cruz Mountains, you can find some old growth groves
Oh,
all
good.
growing together.
Are they in the protected areas or are they outside of the protected areas?
There are groves in the protected areas.
Good, okay. A lot of the locations of these big trees like Hyperion are kept fairly as secret as they can. They don't want people harming them or giving them too much attention, right?
Yeah, that information is not given out.
Yeah, and for good reason. Like we know about the golden spruce in British Columbia that was destroyed by someone, cut down.
But if you're in the Bay Area, they're very nice places to go and see the redwoods. Felton.
Oh, is
State
that
Park.
good? Okay.
Yeah, the
Can you
Henry
put that in?
Cowell.
Can you put
Yeah,
that
I'll put that in
the
chat. Yeah, I'll put that in the chat.
See, I'm just trying to get the essence here of the shape.
Roseanne,
of-
could you zoom in on the
Oh,
the
yeah.
big tree for, thank you.
See how the, oops, sorry about that. See how the trunks have these big, deep grooves in them. That helps when the leaves capture the moisture, that directs the moisture down toward the roots. I'm not going to, I can overthink this, trying to get too much detail here. But here, let's get our scale here. This we just sketched Hyperion, 379 feet. This is in Redwood National Park.
The trees around it would be second growth.
Correct,
So that
or
area has
maybe,
have been logged.
yeah.
Some 150 years ago.
Okay, yes. So one thing we might, excuse me, do in here is maybe draw, maybe put in a little representation of Big Ben, right? To show the scale. Didn't quite get the proportions right. Should be a little fatter, but that's okay. And then those leaves, I just want to do maybe one leaf cluster, these little leaflets. They're pointy, big and flat. And then see how they're kind of cupped. And they're about up to about an inch long. Oops, I'm not getting the pointies. Moving fast here. Get that detail there. It looks like each of the terminal points on these have the little, these are showing little, those would be the male flowers. I'm not positive. But that gives us a good kind of feeling for this plant. Interesting how look at how the leaves are attached. Sort of wrap around. So you might even do, it'd be interesting to do a zoom out and show, you know, very close up of the how that leaf joins the rachis, or just forgot that. That's a bird term. So
The bark on the redwood is also just beautiful. To really look for pictures of it or look
yeah,
at
look at that.
photographs.
Oh, just And that's not even really showing the full incredible color. But I have a tiny bit of brown left. I think I'll just use that to and then I want to fill in with a more dark streaks. Sometimes they have the buttress scene. I wasn't able to find a foot photo of Hyperion. I'm sure it's out there, but
What do we call the little seedlings that are on the tip of the leaf? What do you call those? The little pine cones?
I think I would need to look. Oh, these are cones, but these are, I believe, the male cones, or I would have to look that up. So let's put that as a question mark. That's a really good, I like to do that when we don't know. So I'll put a question mark. Is this the male inflorescence? And now,
Roseanne, those are male cones with little pollen sacs on them. So
yeah,
they're
that's
fresh,
what I
and
thought.
they're
Thank
gonna
you.
fall off, and then the dark brown is the female cone that
Female.
has shed its seeds already.
Thank you. I thought so, but I'm not, super expert on these. So thank you so much for letting us know. So the answer to this is yes, that is the male dispersing its pollen. Great. Well, I think it's time to move on. I wasn't able to get a lot of color in here. Capturing the color of this, you'd want to do a nice blue green, and I'll work on that and come back. So crazy beautiful plant. So let's see, how am I doing this? I'm going to flop this over, do that side. And where are we going next? Okay, let's see. Any guesses? Well, we're going to the American South. Any guesses as to what this might be? Look at the size of that one on the left. That's definitely a heritage native tree. This is the pecan, native to the American South and northern Mexico. And it is a species of hickory, and they get quite tall, 131 feet. And as we know, the pecan is a drupe of fruit with a single stoner pit, which is a vastly important economic nut grown for that's like 264 million pounds in 2014 was one of the statistics I could come up with. And wild pecans were well known and used widely by indigenous Americans. And of course, species like the passenger pigeon and so forth. However, we need to also understand it's a huge business, but it also, the vast pecan farms today in America, and Tucson, Southern Arizona has one of the biggest in the world, and it's pumping it's killing our rivers. And it has basically killed the Santa Cruz River south of Tucson. So it's very intense. And there's what the leaves look like, really beautiful. And of course, we all probably pretty much all know what dried pecans look like, the nut. And it's covered by an outer husk, and then that splits open and the pecan nut is inside. And then you can see what the green one looks like. So I think what we'll do is capture that essence of a pecan shape. Ooh, that's going to be a fun one. So we are on, this is pecan. And it is Carya illinoisensis. Illinoisensis. So get the proportions right. So here's the base. Whew, this is one big tree, isn't it?
I didn't realize they were that huge.
The wild ones that aren't pruned to maximize the droops. So that's obviously a really old grandfather tree. And yes, they are enormous, but of course today they're pruned to maximize nut production. So they look completely different. So I had to work hard to find a picture of an old one. And they do the classic branch. Let me move that a little bit. Yeah. Oops. I know you probably can't see this. I'm just don't want to mess up my proportions. And again, we're trying to get the essence of pecan, right? Not an exact. It's so hard to. Like, I really want it to be perfect, but I really want to go with the shape here, and it does that classic branch. I went to. So walnuts are similar, and I was recently sketching a wild Arizona walnut, and it does that classic branching. So you just have to be patient and try to sketch in as many as you can. And then what's to capture the foliage shape. I'm going to draw just fluffy bit clouds of shape. And then I can go in later with my paint and just do dots of filling in some of these foliage bits. Okay, I'll jump into pen here so you can see that. Might want to do just a little do broken lines, which will help facilitate the look when we add the leaf clusters. So don't use complete lines. Break them up, and that will help enhance the sketch. But I think we're getting a pretty decent pecan-y shape here. A wild pecan shape, not a cultivated pecan.
Did you mention the height of this tree? You can see people at the base.
This particular tree, I did not. I mean, it didn't have a legend about it, but you can see the people. So if this is a 6 foot tall man here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You know, this is probably 120, 130 foot tall tree. give it a little texture. Oops, made that a little too dark. It's hard when we're working on such a small scale not to, you don't want to overdo it. And it actually goes up quite a bit more. Gets a little rangy at the top. So scale, let's say we're estimating about 130 feet. And then let's see, what would be the most interesting thing to sketch? Well, time-wise, I would love to sketch the pecan with the husks opening up, but it's a little bit ambitious. Beautiful leaflets. Maybe we'll do a beautiful pecan leaf. You know what I always find really funny and hard is sketching the leaflets with the right numbers. I always don't leave enough room. So like, okay, I'm just getting the shapes or the placeholders in here, and then I'm going to go in and correct the shape. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each side, and they sort of grade down, don't they? So here's the next. They're very blade shaped. These appear to have like almost like spear. One, two, three. These are getting a little smaller and fatter. 4, 5 actually did it. I often do it wrong. Okay, so these are slightly serrated. Pretty strong central vein, isn't there? You have a pretty tip. I think pecan and walnut leaves are some of the prettiest out there. And scale wise, these are about 2 to 3, sometimes 4 inches. So leaflets. Especially on a tree that big. So that's a beautiful, beautiful specimen. Let's see if I can add any color here. Of course, that's a black and white photo, but you can see the leaves are quite beautiful green. They have a gray bark. Looks like in the south, especially in the forests, they would have, see the moss on the bark really enhances that.
Did you say the each leaf is 3 to 4 inches or the entire?
Leaflet. So yeah, these can be quite big.
So each blade is what you mean by leaflet.
Yeah, each of the individual leaf. Well, the whole thing is the leaf, but the leaflets are on that one stem. And I'm not going to try to do the wax resist. Also, just in the interest of time, I'm going to do a first pass pretty pale, and then I can come back and enhance later. Always better to start with a light wash, and then you come back and add a darker shadows or what have you. And this is a tiny, tiny little painting.
So what's the verdict? Is it a pecan or a pecan?
Oh, I think it depends on what part of the country you're from.
No, I'm from the South and it's pecan.
Okay.
If you call it a pecan, that's something you would urinate in.
I gotta
agree.
put that in.
South too.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. That's really funny. You guys made me laugh. I just blorked. I just painted outside the lines. That's funny. Okay. Concentrate. Oh. And here I just want to like get some, I don't want to like completely fill it in. And I want to this is a really light color, and I would come back and add some darks. You'll see how we'll do that. Come in and add more dark blues and even really darks to open that up. But this will get us started. Oh, that's going to stick in my brain the rest of the time. Pecan. Thank you for that. Let's let that dry. I'll come back and we'll enhance it with some shadows and darks, and maybe come back with a colored pencil, light one, and add the lighter veins, and then make the trunk gray. But it's time to move on, isn't it? All right, any guesses where we're going next? 3 more species. Well, it looks like we're going back down to the Southwest, because that's where I am, and my favorite plant, of course, the saguaro cactus. If you haven't seen these in person, they're magnificent, can be upwards of 40 feet tall, a couple hundred years old. They're absolutely beautiful, but also just amazing survivors. So they are native to the Sonoran Desert in southern Arizona, northern Mexico, and Baja, Mexico. When those pleats, pleats are incredibly important, because they allow the saguaro to absorb water when it rains, which can be very infrequent in the desert, and then it stores it, and so the pleats expand. And then as it depletes, it goes down. And when during a really plentiful rainfall, they estimate like upwards of 3,000-4,000 or more pounds of water stored in these plants. And it is a keystone species for the desert, providing food, shelter, and protection for hundreds of other species. Birds, the flowers are pollinated by nectar-feeding bats, 2 of which are, well, 1 for sure, I think 2 now are endangered. But these are white flowers. They bloom and attract animals at night, but also birds feast on the fruits as well, and insects, pollen, and then birds drill into the core of the plant, create nests. It's just an incredibly important plant, and also culturally super important. The Tono O'odham people consider the saguaro to be embodiments of their ancestors. And they recently passed, within this last year, a resolution that the Hashan, the saguaro, are considered people or kindred spirits, and therefore entitled to protection. And that was super important. As the border wall was being put up, hundreds of saguaros were being bulldozed on the Tohono O'odham nation, which essentially was like killing their ancestors again. So it's pretty dramatic. So let's sketch this fabulous plant. It's a really fun to sketch. We're going to write who we are. And it's pronounced saguaro, not saguaro. And we are going to also put the autumn name. And it was named after Andrew Carnegie, Carnegie Gigantea. In honor of his funding the first desert surveys in the world at the Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill, where I work. So let's get the proportions right. Saguaros, oops, I'm going to start this a little over here, leave room for more arms. They can be super fat at the bottom. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to put in the main taper, and then I will come back. And I want to get the arm placements, and they start getting the arms in their teens.
So when you say arms in their teens, what does that mean?
So when they're young, they don't have arms. They just grow straight and tall. And they need the protection of what's called a nurse plant. So they will grow under a mesquite or palo verde or ironwood tree, and then eventually outgrow the canopy of the tree, sometimes killing their nurse tree, but not always. Once they reach literally their teenage years, that's when they start putting out the little arms. So you can see in this photo, these are all very similar age cohorts. This one's a little older. This one's about the same age. They've all pretty much got arms going. So when I'm sketching, especially a small saguaro like this, I'm not going to try to, here's like the desert below it. I'm not going to try to sketch every pleat, but I want to put some representations of that. Especially since like that will help show the growth shape here. Trying to make these two in the background a little bit fainter. And then you'll definitely want to, we need to show that these are round in an aspect. So we want to throw in some shading.
So Roseanne, after there's flowers like this, is there a fruit?
Yes, a beautiful, it splits open and it's bright red. The Tohono O'odham people harvest the fruits and make a drink from it. And they also eat the fruits. So I just love drawing these. They're just so pretty. I'm going to leave these fairly faint and so they fade into the background. Just capturing the essence of Saguaro. We can draw the flower, which is very complicated. I can just do I'm going to do a quick capture of the flower, not trying to delve into every single detail because it's incredibly beautiful. And I have sat for several hours on Tumamogue Hill drawing these in the summer, which is quite a commitment because it's super hot when they flower in June, May and June. And yeah, it's super hot. It's got it has a shape that is very beautiful. What I want to show is how it sort of rolls under on the edges. Just try not to overthink it here. Maybe go in with, so you guys
Can you tell us how many petals are on the flower? Because it's hard to tell from the photograph.
Oh yeah,
they look like one.
Dozens and dozens. They're tiny.
Oh, okay.
They're small, overlapping. Good
Okay.
question. Yeah. So
Thanks.
don't angst over trying to get everyone. Just sort of what I'm trying to do is sort of get the essence of the flower. Otherwise, we'd be here for all day. It's a beautiful, delicate white.
So Roseanne, quick question.
Yeah.
Are all green pods going to be flowers?
Yes. Yes. So that's a flower cluster there, and that's the tip of an arm. So this would, we could show the little. Yeah, it would be really fun to just do a deep botanical dive in drawing. You would have to take hours and hours to get the complexity here. Right now, I'm just wanting to capture the essence here of this gorgeous plant. So yeah, you could do all the little buds, see how the overlapping.
Roseanne, you said the flower clusters are at the tip of the saguaro.
And the arms. So they would be up here. So we can go ahead and they would present like that. Like so. And so what did we say these were up to, like about 70 feet tall? Let's get that. 40 feet tall, sorry. So this is probably about a 30-foot. And so the nectar feeding bats, they time their reproduction and their movements throughout the Southwest with the blooming of the cactuses. So it's the lesser long-nosed bat. So we can, so much more, detail we could do, but again, we're wanting to capture the essence here, which I think that does pretty well for a 10-minute sketch. And I can come in and maybe put some blue behind it and enhance the shading later and put in my yellow and the pretty greens. Really beautiful plant. But it's time to move on. And let's see. Where are we going next? Well, you guys can kind of see my bias toward the deserts here. So we're going to go down to Baja, Mexico. And this is like a crazy fun plant, right? Who knows what this is?
Oh.
Yes, this is the bujum, the Fuchsia columnaris. Is that right? Oops, yep. And they are endemic to Baja, Mexico. There's a tiny population in Sonora, Mexico on the coast at Puerto Libertad. Some people think the Seris might have planted them there. They were Seri indigenous people who still live on the coast in Sonora, plied the waters of the Sea of Cortez in boats. So it's possible they did that. It was named by Godfrey Sykes of the Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill, where I work, after Lewis Carroll's The Hunting of the Snark, where bujum was named. And very, very interesting succulent. It can be hugely tall, taller than saguaro, 70 feet. The tallest has been measured at 86.5 feet by San Borja Mission. They grow really slowly. So at 50 years old, they're only 5 feet tall, and they average only 30 centimeters every 10 years. So when we lose a bujum, it takes forever for them to replenish. These are super fun to draw. And I like this one down here. When you think of bujums, you there's kind of two shapes. Oops, back. There's kind of two shapes. There's there's this shape, which is kind of like a carrot with lots of pointy branches coming out, or when they get really big and old, they start leaning over and then developing these fabulous curly crews, which I like the best. So that's what I'm going to draw. But you draw whichever one you like.
It looks like Dr. Seuss trees.
Exactly. It looks like when you're there in Baja amongst them, it feels like something someone absolutely made up, that you're standing in a children's book. It's fantastical. Fuchsia. So it's related to the Ocotillo, which is a Fuchsia splendens.
Roseanne, are there none in Arizona, or did you say there are?
There are none growing natively in Arizona. There are plenty planted at Herbaria. There are several on the University of Arizona campus. There's several at Tumamoc Hill, but not natively. They are endemic to Baja. So let's see. Are we going to do this straight to ink? This photo might actually be two. I can't quite tell.
Their trunk doesn't look much wider than any other part of it.
I know, but they're really deceptively, that's a very tall plant. So that's much taller than that saguaro we just sketched. So it's fatter than you think. That could be a good 50, 60 feet tall. I'm trying to get the essence of this shape here. And this one has inflorescences at its tips. And they are sprays of flowers that look like, I'll go ahead, even though we don't have a photo of one, the individual flowers are shaped like this. And they're bright red. And then there's dozens and dozens of them on a stem that are upright. So the spray ends up looking like that. So let's see.
I'm sorry, but
yeah,
I wanted to ask what you meant by saying that they could be planted by the Seri people.
Oh, so there is a very small population of Bujums. So they are endemic to Baja, which is the peninsula. And there is a very small population on the mainland coast of Mexico. And some people think they were introduced there by the Seri people, that it's not, it wasn't a naturally occurring population. But we don't know, that's speculation. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Sure. So there's these little branches with leaves that stick out all over, getting smaller as it goes up, but it's still kind of fuzzy.
So how are they pollinated?
Hummingbirds and other and insects as well. But it's a red tubular plant, so hummingbirds love them. And hummingbirds will go up and down the Baja. Following the blossoms.
Quick question, at the end of the branches, that's the a bunch of flowers?
Yeah, this is life size. So this is about how big they are. And then there's dozens of them on the flower stalks. So they look like that. So that's one of those.
Thanks.
And then these are clusters of leaflets. So their leaves will grow in groups. This is just quick and very, very stylized there, just to show how the leaves are, and they're on branches. So each of these little branchy things coming out down here has leaves on it. Probably too much detail for the size of this. Didn't quite get the proportions right. So, but that gives you an idea. So let's call this one maybe, what do we want to say, 30 feet tall? No, this one's going to be like 50. I think it's bigger than that saguaro. Well, we have a little. See how you can, just really quickly get the essence of things without having to do a ton of detail. So these have really pale trunk with tiny little green leaves, and then the leaves come, in the when there's moisture, and then they'll drop them when it's really dry.
So the younger ones, the carrot-shaped ones, would have similar leaves.
Correct, yeah. So you can see that one there.
Yeah. So those are the leaves that are growing on that aren't growing. The other one.
Yeah, it's got these like branches. So it ends up looking hairy, and see how it really developed at the bottom. But the older ones appear to be more sparse, don't they? That's a really big one. Really cool plant.
When do they flower? Does the carrot-shaped one flower the same way that the curly one does?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, it would be, there it is. Those are flowers at the top. So it's going to be just at the top of these. So at this growth tip here. And that's the same with the ocotillo plant, which is really widespread in the Southwest. The inflorescences are at the end of the main growth tips, not on these little short guys here. So really cool plant. And we're going to move on to our 8th and final plant, which is much more tropical species. Anyone know what this guy is? It's a really tall tree. Although in northern Mexico, I've seen them quite small, normal tree size. This is the kapok tree, or the ceiba. In Mexico, it is commonly known as the ceiba. It is native to Mexico, Central America, around the Caribbean, and northern South America. And so they can get really tall. This is a huge one, 250 foot tall. And then the trunks are massive, and they get these buttresses at the bottom that are huge. They can be 10 feet or more in diameter. with these lovely buttresses. And then the trunks have these huge spines, an inch, 2 inches or more. They're conical. And interestingly, the thought that I couldn't find any papers on this, but there were 2 schools of thought on why the trunks are covered in these spines. One is that to keep animals from feeding on the bark. But that didn't ring true to me. The theory I was more thinking made more sense. This is a tropical species from rainforests and tropical deciduous forests in northern Mexico. There are fig trees, strangler figs, that are dispersed. The seeds are dispersed by birds. Birds land on the plant, and then they poop out the eaten seeds, and they wipe their vents on the plant, the other trees, and then the fig grows there and eventually kills the host plant. So there's some theory that these spikes keep birds from pooping on the plant. So I don't know, take your pick, whichever you like. I'm not sure it's been proven either way. So kapok.
They look like fig trees, rather. I mean, I know they don't look like strangler figs, but like
with the buttressing and everything they do.
And the shape, yeah.
Exactly. I think so too. So they grow these really big, like 3, 4, 5 inch long pods, which are full of really cotton-like fluff. And actually, back in the day, the original, excuse me, life jackets were stuffed with kapok, because they're very water resistant, the fluff is, and so it floats. So the flowers are night blooming and pollinated by bats, and they have beautiful palmate leaves. That's a picture on the lower right of a pod. So that plant I photographed in northern Sonora, Mexico. And then that tree was maybe like 20 feet tall. So it didn't have buttressing. It's more in the tropical deciduous forest. So drawing this guy, number 8, yay, we're making it. This is the kapok, which is Ceiba. Pentandra, which refers to the fact that the fruits hang on in the deep tropics. They get these long streamers. This one doesn't show a lot of them, but the fruits hang on these long streamers, unlike the one shown there, and so they look like they've got like party lights hanging all over them, a lot like baobabs, if you've seen baobabs. So the kapok, I would want to again work on the essence of the tree here. That's going to be a hard one. It's got a, I'm marking like the width of the canopy. It's got a crown that's very obviously rounded, and then comes down. I want to kind of get this main shape, and then this central trunk, which comes down. And because this is in a rainforest, you can't see the buttress, but we're going to add it, because this is such a big tree. I'm sure it has the buttress. And then what I want to do is just, I'm going to sketch in the representations of the branching, but I don't want to show a ton of that because it doesn't really show through. And then we'll have our canopy shapes. Like we did with the pecan. So I'll come in with my color and give it more depth.
Hello.
Hey, could someone mute that, please? Okay.
Danke dir, danke dir, danke.
Hey, Valerie, can you see who that is? We need to.
Hello.
Got her. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that, folks. And that beautiful, look at that pale trunk. Wow. Okay, I'm not going to overwork that. And then if it were fruiting season, so you would see these long pendulous. You can see pictures of it with hanging down. It's pretty cool. And then the here, let's put the over here on the side. Let's do get some of these. Spiky spines. Oh my goodness. I'm drawing at a weird angle, so they're coming out pointed up. That's okay. And they're pretty sharp and very conical.
Where are those located?
On the trunks. So directly on the trunk. And they're covered in them. And then I don't know if we have room, can we fit a fruit in? Going to be a little crowded, but.
Is the fruit edible?
No, the fruit is full of cottony, woolly fibers that used to be used for stuffing life preservers. And people in the rainforest also use the fibers for tying off things, if not creating rope, but using it as a filler in things as well. But I don't believe it's edible.
That term kapok is familiar to me as a child, that they used to, it was like when you said kapok tree, the first thing that came to mind was stuffing.
Correct. Yeah. So
wow.
Isn't that cool?
I learned something new. I love it. Not that I haven't been learning something new, but this is, oh my God, this is where that came from.
It suddenly makes it real, doesn't it? It's like, oh, well, that's what they are, and they're still out there.
Yeah.
So
never realized that the filler, now maybe it became a generic term, I don't know, but I never realized it was natural.
Yes.
As a child,
they don't use it anymore for life preservers.
No.
But yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap up and talk and do questions. I see tons of chat, which I haven't even had a chance to look at, but I'll have this all on the website. There'll be this presentation will be there, of course, in PDF form too, and the recording. Let me stop the share. There we go. Yay. And let's see, put that away. Great. That was actually fun. I really enjoyed the whole process of researching, and then I was kind of excited by the concept of say, I'll put this can go on a page in my journal flat. I'll probably use white tape to tape it in, and then I'll be able to go down the continent on both sides, and doing that for each one. And like in Africa, we're going to start at the bottom. So I'll, we're North America biased. So I'll start at the bottom of Africa and go up. And so I'll do this a little differently. I'll probably start at the base and move up and over. So that's kind of fun. I was happy with that. Any comments? Let's go ahead and just, if you want to raise your hand to make a comment or just unmute. I don't want to roll over anybody though. There's a lot of us online. Any comments? Share? Okay, Tina, go. Let me spotlight you. Oh, you have to turn, if you want to, are you just going to say something? That's fine. Okay, great. Because to spotlight you, you need to have your video. Great. Okay, let me spotlight. There we go. Great.
Oh, this is fun. But my question is about those spikes. Are they, do they do something? Did they grow? Did I miss that part? Are they there to make more branches?
We're not sure. So I did some research on that because knowing the tree really, really well, I thought, well, why the heck? So it's one of their questions, right? As a naturalist, you look at that and you go, well, why the heck does it have these huge conical things? They're not like spiky spikes like acacias or whatever. So there were two thoughts: that it was to keep animals from eating the soft bark because it's a really spongy plant. And then another theory is that to keep strangler fig seeds from being dispersed on the plant, because birds poop them out. And the way the birds poop them out is they'll wipe their vent on the tree, their butt, and that the spikes were like, oh no, and that keeps them from doing that. I don't know which to believe.
So we're just real quickly, I was able to follow along.
Look at that! Oh, yay!
Yay!
Let me make you bigger. Hold on. Let's see. There we go. Oh, that's awesome! I can't wait to go and fill mine in, and because it's really hard to talk and do it all at once. You were fast. That's awesome.
Well, it's just simple. But when I got to your fantastic boojum tree, I had to turn it sideways so I could get.
Awesome!
Get
oh, I like that. I should have done that. I didn't think to do that. I don't tend to do that enough. I tend to be stuck in one aspect. So love that. Well, take pictures of those and share, and we'll put them on the website. So I'll be sharing the link with you all when I get that done. So thank you. Oh, that was really fun to see. So great.
Roseanne, would you show the map of North America again with the numbers on it?
I don't have one. Oh, that one. Yeah. They don't have numbers. Let me do that at the end.
Yeah. I just mean where our trees.
Yeah.
I missed where number 8 goes.
It goes down in the Central America. So let me.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Thank you.
I think I can. Wait. Nope. There. Let's see if that'll show. Back one.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
And this will be on the website. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so Valerie.
That's fabulous.
You're great.
This is Maureen.
Let me, I've got Valerie. Valorie's up, and then we'll take you, Maureen.
I just want to say thank you. This is really fascinating, and I can tell you've done a lot of work to gather all this information. I even regret that I have to miss next month, but
it'll be recorded.
Oh, well, okay, well, good. Okay, well, I am going to share my pictures for, on on the on the Facebook page or whatever.
Okay,
But
good.
great job. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Valerie. It was fun. I can't wait to do all the other continents. Of course, I know the plants here really well, and I know South America pretty well, but as I go around the world, it's going to be, wow. Okay, let me do that. And then Maureen had something she wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you. I've really enjoyed it. It's been like a 2-hour break. It's really fun.
Oh, good.
I did a map like you put on my left
Great.
side of I kept everything in my media book because I like to.
Great.
But what I thought was so interesting was your pecan tree, because I'm from Texas and I've never seen a pecan tree like that, because everything I see is
they're all like groomed and
planted
perfect.
and
yeah.
Right. So that was really fun. Thanks so much.
Oh,
I
you're
enjoyed it. I'll share it
welcome.
with Doretta.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you.
I just wanted to quickly share with Maureen. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and we had a pecan tree in the backyard. And I just would watch and pine over when that pecan would get ripe. I just loved it. I still, to this day, I buy pecans, but I go to the co-op and try to get pecans that, you know, are more sensitive to how they're grown, of course, but they're my favorite nut, of course.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Tina. Lindsay, thank you.
So I definitely liked you urged us to move fast, and I really enjoyed just not having that high amount of detail in my drawings.
No, it's hard, isn't it?
It is. So like in the amount of time that I did, so this is from today and this, in probably half the amount of time that we did all this together, I did a pussy willow a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, let it go, just do fast things. So I really enjoyed the Bojum tree was probably one of my favorites. I really want to go back and study that one a little bit more.
Good.
So.
Oh, good. It's a fun one. It's a fun one.
So much.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's see. We've got Bonnie. Okay, let's see. Lower your hand there. Oops, got it. And Bonnie, there we go.
I'm in Northwest Oregon, and I really didn't think I'd like this because the trees are everybody else's trees and not my trees. You know, Douglas firs, big leaf maple. But I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy this. I didn't get a chance to keep up with the watercolor because it was just too much. But
yeah, me too. I'm gonna have to go back.
So I put the 6 of them on one page, and I have 2 on the back.
Nice. Oh, okay. You had a bigger notebook. That worked really well.
That's the 2 on the back.
Wow, really
and then
good job.
I really look forward to adding the color.
Me
but
too.
I was gonna be
as you saw,
overwhelmed,
I was like, no, I can't do the color and talk, and yeah, that's hard. So
yeah, I know it's harder for you, but
I know what we're
I
going to
couldn't
do
do
this
it.
afternoon is sit and just have a glass of wine and enjoy painting. Nice, thank you. Let's see. Well, I think we've come to the end here, and so thank you all for coming. It was really fun. So part 2 is going to be May. Valerie, do you remember what the date is? Are you still here? Did I just forget? May 9th?
Is it the 18th?
Oh,
May
right.
May
The
14th.
Yeah,
14th.
because I'm teaching an ochre class at Tumamoc the following weekend. So 14th, and so we'll do South America, same kind of process. We'll have a lot of fun with that. And thank you. And if you enjoyed this and the free workshops that I do, consider contributing to the tip jar, which I put the link in the chat there, and I'll send out an email with the web page. I'll have the recording done maybe this afternoon or maybe tomorrow. Don't know. I think tomorrow we're going to go looking for some red ochre pigment down south. So I'll probably be out in the field. So thank you, everyone. It was a lot of fun. And we'll send me your images. I put them on our website with the tutorial and the website. Someone asked, do we have a Facebook or Instagram hashtag? No, I don't. You can use Field Arts, hashtag Field Arts. You can go post it to, or just tag me, Roseanne Hanson on Instagram or Facebook. I have a professional page, Roseanne Hanson Explorer. I'll put that all in the email when I send out. You'll all get that. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Go study some trees.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
See you next
Bye.
time.
She